In our country that every day an average of 115 people die from an opioid overdose. That number is more than just a statistic. Remember, it represents the loss of a person, a mother, a father, someone's best friend, or even a child. 115 people is more than just a number for a South Dakota news anchor, Angela Kennecke. She often reports on the opioid epidemic, but the story hit home after she lost her firstborn child to a fentanyl overdose.
The loss of a child, especially in this sudden and shocking way, has turned my world upside down. I never intended a member of my family to become part of the statistics you hear on the evening news. Nobody does. And there's no recovery for me or my family of the loss of my talented, smart, and beautiful daughter, Emily. My only hope in the face of such devastating loss is that Emily's story, my family's personal tragedy, can be a catalyst for change.
Angela Kennecke joins me now. And first of all, I just need you to know that from across the miles, I'm just putting my arms around you. I know that we anchors, we journalists never want to find ourselves in the story. That's, you know, the exact opposite goal we have. But you have felt obligated to speak your daughter's name and tell her story so that nobody else has to sit where you're sitting. Angela, that's profound.
I feel it's the only thing that I can do. Over the years, I've asked so many parents to sit down with me and share their grief, or just people in general who've been through horrible, tragic situations. And then this happens to me, to my family, and I can't run and hide from it. If anything, I felt the obligation to use the platform that I have to try to educate people that this isn't just some sort of thing that happens in a dark alley somewhere. Most people should know that by now, but not everybody does. This can happen anywhere. It can happen in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, you know, to a family, middle-class family, to a girl who has everything, really. She had everything.
You know, we have been talking, trying to shine a light on this opioid epidemic on this broadcast, and searching along with a legion of other people of how we get our arms around this, how we can prevent another family from sitting in grief the way you are. And one of the things that I think that I'm finding true is we have to talk about it, right? We have to have these awkward, awful conversations. I don't relish speaking to a mom in grief, but it might be what we have to do in order to get this conversation moving.
I agree. I mean, that is the main reason why I spoke out, was to reduce the stigma. So people will talk about it. The more we talk about it, the more we can come up with good solutions to help solve this problem. This shouldn't be happening in our country. We have a lot of resources. We have a lot of smart people. We should be battling this just as we would other things that we're so concerned about. I'm not saying anybody else's loss is any less than mine to this type of thing, to a drug overdose. But so many people. I mean, I've read those statistics that you read earlier. They've come out of my mouth. Now, I can't even tell you what that means, you know, to me. I can't even put that into words because of the loss of my daughter.
You know, to the end of what you said about talking about it, I know this is going to be hard, but I want to talk about Emily and what you noticed. I mean, I understand that she was set to go to rehab. I want you to look back and help us understand what you saw, that maybe things were getting worse, because it might be instructive to other families.
Right, and I've heard from a lot of families since I've come out and been talking about this, but it's so hard, you know, to get somebody who doesn't want help or who is denying what they're doing to get them help. I suspected something was wrong. I just didn't know exactly what it was. And I saw my daughter's appearance changing more drastically. She'd lost some weight, her eyes were a little hollowed out, and she seemed sort of out of it. So I would see her actually quite a bit. She didn't live with me. She was 21. But I just thought, something is wrong here. What can I do? And then I learned, not from her, but through a third party, that one of her friends who I didn't know had overdosed. And I thought, what's going on? And when I heard that, I started calling around addiction centers. I started looking for an interventionist. And yes, we had one planned. We had all met as a family. We had we're writing our intervention letters, and we were going to sit down with her, and that was scheduled for 3 days after she died.
Oh,
if
goodness.
I would have had any idea it was heroin, I don't know what I would have done. Picked her up and, you know, I don't know, but something more drastic even than that. I thought I was acting with what I knew at the time, you know, in the best way I could.
And that is the parent's struggle, right? You're doing the best you can with the resources you had, and you had contacts at the ready, right?
Yes.
You've been reporting on the opioid epidemic. So I want to look forward, because I know that's important for you as well. You've established a foundation in Emily's name. It's called Emily's Hope. What is your goal with this foundation, Angela?
Well, my goal is to ease the barriers that there are to getting treatment. So a lot of addicts don't want to go into treatment in the first place, but then you find out, oh my gosh, my insurance doesn't cover it, or my insurance copay is $10,000 or $2,000. Try to cover some of those costs. Also, if an addict can't work, maybe pay their utilities, their rent, those kinds of things, so that there are fewer excuses to not get help.
Angela, you are remarkable. You have been blessed with so much grace, and I hate that we're meeting this way, but I stand with you.
Me too.
And we send massive amounts of love, and congratulations on being able to turn this into something that you think will represent what Emily's story really should be. Thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you.
It is a